Welcome to biology class, students. Today we are going to explain about angiosperms. Angiosperms means, yes, flowering plants. They bear flowers. Flowers are the reproductive structures, isn't it? In angiosperms, the seeds are enclosed by fruits. And angiosperms are exceptionally large group of plants occurring in wide range of habitat. They range in size from tiny to tall trees. See, it looks like algae, isn't it? But it is not algae, it is an angiosperm or wolfia. Okay, see, you can see wolfia flowers here. And this is eucalyptus. It is having nearly 100 meters of height. Okay, so the range in angiosperms are varying from tiny to tall trees. Okay. They provide us with food, fodder, fuel, medicines and several other commercially important products. Okay, this is eucalyptus flower. Then, which are the two classes of angiosperms? Yes, monocotyledons and dicotyledons. Tell me one example for dicotyledonous plant. Lots of examples are the mango, cashew nut, isn't it? Then monocotyledons, grass, rice, isn't it? So from morphology, how can we identify a monocot plant? Monocots are having a single cotyledon, but dicots are having two cotyledons, isn't it? Then monocots, example grass, their leaves are having parallel venation, but here reticulate venation. And what about the root system? Yes, and monocotyledonous plant, there are fibrous root system. There is fibrous root system, but here taproot system. And anatomy and all we will discuss in next chapter. Okay, students. So we can divide angiosperms into two categories, monocotyledons and dicotyledons. Then, as we all know, the reproductive organs of angiosperms are flowers. Students, do you remember the typical flower structure? Which are the four whorls? In lower classes onwards we studied it, isn't it? So, which are the four whorls? Calyx or sepal, corolla or petal, and rhizium, male reproductive organ or called stamen, isn't it? Then gynoecium, it is a female reproductive organ or pistil. See, this is a structure. You can see the pedicel and receptacle for the attachment, and this green color part is sepal or calyx. And these are petals, this pink color in this diagram, these are petals or corolla. Students, the sepal and petals are accessory organs. Which are the main organs, reproductive organs? Yes, stamen and pistil. Stamen is the male part of flower, pistil is the female part of flower. Now let's discuss about the stamen. Stamen consists of long, slender with anther at its tip. Can you see anther? Here in yellow color, this anthers following meiosis produce pollen grains. Pollen grains are the male gametes of flowers, isn't it? So that's about the male part of flower. Now let's examine the female part of flower. See this in orange color, you can see the female part of flower. This female part of flower is called pistil or carpel. It consists of three parts. Which are the three parts? Yes, stigma, style and ovary. See, this is receptive stigma is the then long slender like style through which the pollen tube elongates, and this is the ovary, and here you can see ovules in the ovary. In future this ovary become fruit and ovules become seeds. Clear? Again the diagram, this is calyx and these are petals or corolla, these are stamen. Anther and filament is there. This is stamen. Here in anther, this anther undergo meiosis and produce pollen grain. And this is pistil. Pistil consists of three parts. This is stigma. This is long slender like part is style, and this is ovary. Inside the ovary there is ovule. One or many ovules will be there. Depends on the plant, isn't it? And the gamete pollen grains will move through the stigma and they will attach on the stigma and move through the style, and it will joint fertilization will take place inside the ovule. Okay. See again the structure, the female reproductive part, gynoecium, pistil or carpel, male reproductive part, androecium, stamen. Okay. Now we discussed that what happens to this anther, they undergo meiosis and produce, yes, pollen grains, isn't it? But here in this pistil, pistil consists of an ovary enclosing one to many ovules. This is ovules, you can see many, this is ovary, you can see many ovules here. Within the ovules are present highly reduced female gametophyte. So it is termed as embryo sac. Students, the embryo sac formation is preceded by meiosis. Okay. Hence, each of the cells of an embryo sac is haploid. Each embryo sac has 3-celled egg apparatus, that is 1 egg cell, 2 synergids, then 3 antipodal cells and 2 polar nuclei. I will show you one diagram. See, this is an enlarged view of an embryo sac. Here you can see this part is known as egg apparatus. Okay, egg apparatus. It consists of an egg cell and 2 synergids. Okay, and centrally you can see polar nuclei. 2 polar nuclei are there, and at another pole you can see antipodals. Okay, antipodals. Spelling is wrong here in this diagram. Antipodal. Okay, so this is a mature embryo sac. Students, once the pollen grains move through the style and reach to the embryo sac, the pollen will contain 2 male gametes and 1 will fuse with this egg cell and it become zygote, and 1 more male gamete is there now. It will combine with the 2 polar nuclei in the center and in future it become endosperm. Okay, which provide nourishment to the developing embryo. Okay, so indeed this is known as double fertilization. Normally we discussed in fertilization class 10, isn't it? But here in plants 2 fertilizations are happening. One with the egg cell and it forms zygote. Other with the polar nuclei, it becomes endosperm. In future it nourishes the developing embryo. That's why first fertilization here, second fertilization here. That's why double fertilization. Okay. See, in those plants where only male flowers are there, pollinating agents help for the pollination, isn't it? And they will move through the style, they will attach on this pollen grain will attach on the stigma, move through the style and it fuses with the egg cell. And it becomes zygote and 1 more male gamete fuses with endosperm, polar nuclei to form endosperm, and finally the seed will form and it will germinate to new plant. Okay, so 2 fertilizations are happening in angiosperm flowers. It is termed as double fertilization. In class 12, we will discuss in detail about double fertilization and sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Okay, so that's about angiosperms. And the last topic of our this lesson is plant life cycle patterns and alteration of generation. Okay, so in this topic we will discuss about life cycle patterns. Okay, while explaining algae, bryophytes, pteridophytes, gymnosperms and angiosperms, we had discussed about the life cycle patterns separately. But here in a diagrammatic form we are explaining it. Haplontic life cycle is there in algae. Pteridophytes and bryophytes are showing haplodiplontic type of life cycle pattern. Gymnosperms and angiosperms are showing diplontic type of life cycle patterns. Okay, so the life cycle patterns we are expressing or representing in the form of a pie chart or graphical representation, that is life cycle patterns. 3 types of life cycle patterns are the haplontic, diplontic and haplodiplontic. Haplontic in algae, diplontic in gymnosperms and angiosperms, haplodiplontic in bryophytes and pteridophytes. Clear? Some exceptions are there. Okay, because most algal genera are haplontic, we know, but some of them such as Ectocarpus, Polysiphonia, Kelps are haplodiploidic, and Fucus, that algae is diploidic. This is an exception. That example is given in your textbook. Okay. So what is haplontic? How can we explain? Here you can see sporophytic generation is represented only by one cell zygote. See, you can see zygote here. Meiosis in zygote result in the formation of haploid spores. See, spores. Haploid means N, half the number of chromosomes. Diploid means a complete set of chromosomes. That's why diploid is represented by 2N. Children, you know what is diploid and haploid? We are diploid organism, isn't it? What is our chromosome number? 46. So 46 is equal to 2N, a full set of chromosome. But in our sperm and egg, that means in gametes only half the number of chromosomes are there. That's why the sperm and egg are haploid, isn't it? N. Okay. So here in algae, the spores, haploid spores are formed. These haploid spores divide mitotically, and what is formed? The gametophytic plant body is produced, isn't it? So here the dominant photosynthetic phase of plant is gametophytic plant body. Then this kind of life cycle pattern is known as haplontic. Clear? And what is happening here in diplontic? Here what is the condition? Here the diploid sporophyte is dominant like a flowering plant. Okay, in an angiosperm, 2N number of chromosomes are there. They undergo gametogenesis. That means synthesis of gametes is taking place. Which are the two gametes in angiosperms? Yes, the pollen grain and egg. It is, they undergo meiosis and produce pollen grain, male gamete, and egg, female gamete, and they undergo syngamy. What is syngamy, students? Yes, fertilization, and produce zygote, isn't it? The formed zygote. What is the ploidy? Haploid or diploid? Yes, diploid, because pollen contain half the number of chromosome N. It combined with plus egg. Egg is also contain half the number of chromosome N. So N plus N, 2N. Zygote will contain 2N, the complete set of chromosome. Then again a sporophytic plant body. They undergo a life cycle. That means a new zygote is formed, embryo, that means seeds are formed. On germination, seeds will produce new plant, and this life cycle pattern is continuing, isn't it? That is diplontic. And what is haplodiploidic? Bryophytes and pteridophytes, they exhibit an intermediate condition, that is haplodiploidic. Okay, so what is happening? Spores are produced by meiosis, and a gametophytic plant body is there. They again undergo gametogenesis, synthesis of male and female gametes. They undergo fertilization. Then a spores release, sporophytic plant body is there, isn't it? Do you remember it? Then again they undergo meiosis and spores are formed. Then they are continuing their life cycle pattern. So it's an intermediate life cycle pattern. That's why it is termed as haplodiploidic. Is it clear? So that's about life cycle patterns. It's an important question. Okay. So study it well and answer the exercise questions. Okay. Read the textbook thoroughly. Okay, students. Thank you.